Welcome back, everybody. This is Steve, and I've got a piece of new tech here, and I'm an old tech guy, and I want to see what all the fuss is about. Stick around. So one of my neighbors was getting rid of this new machine, and I was wondering what all the fuss was about inside of these new machines. So I'm going to tear this thing down and see what all we can make of it. I guess the first thing I want to do is plug it in and see if it actually boots up the way that it is, and see what it is, and see if we can figure all that nonsense out. And if we can't, then we're going to take it apart and figure out what's wrong with it. But this case, it's missing its side panel, so the case has got to go no matter what. Let's get this thing torn apart. Hang on. Alright, first boot, let's see what we can do. Power on the power supply. Power on the, ooh, fancy lights. Power on the main machine. We got fans. We got graphics card fan. We got CPU fan. We got fancy lights. We got signal problems. Oh, there we go. Hey, it's trying. What do I want? I want to do last known good. Let's see what that does for us. AMD 4300 quad core. Whole bunch of PCI devices listed. Let's load failsafe defaults. Let's save and exit setup. See if that does us any better. Okay, so next up is to start removing stuff. And what I did was I removed everything in the BIOS that wasn't nailed down. This thing had serial ports enabled. There's no serial ports on this thing. It's got parallel ports enabled. There's no parallel ports. While I was in there, I saw that it has an onboard video controller. I switched over the video. Let's remove the inbound added on, holy moly, video card controller here. This thing has thumb screws on the option cards, but there's no way to get a thumb on the thumb screw, so that's kind of weird, I guess. I don't know. Alright, and then we'll do it with a screwdriver. Can't put nothing past this engineer. Alright, so you lift those up. You might be able to get a little bit better access on the thumb screws, but if you've got this thing that slides up and down back here, why do you have thumb screws? Alright, video card is out. It says MSI, and that's pretty much all you can see on it is MSI. And on the back it says Radeon RX 460 GT LP, 4600 GT LP. It's got a mark over top of one of the numbers. I'm going to say it's a 4600. But there is that nice heatsink underneath of it. Set that off to the side. It works, but I just want to remove the footprint overall. What else can we take out of here? We can take out some RAM. Let's take out number 2. Alright, this is RAMOS. 4 gig DDR3 1600. I don't know if these are needed in pairs or not, but we'll start off by taking out one of them. And the other chip looks like it matches, so that's good. It's got a SATA hard disk in it. We still need that. What is this? This is a USB 3.0 header. We'll pull that off, but I don't know if that's going to make any difference. Alright, let's try it again. So it's booting up on the internal video card. I enabled the smart capability on the hard disk. There's no complaints there, and the DMI pool data was updated, and we still aren't going anywhere. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to this kind of screen capture mode here and figure out what all we can do with it. I had the hard disk unplugged, and I guess the first thing we need to do is take the RAM and stick the RAM back in, because I don't think that was the problem. So the computer's right behind the camera. This is kind of a cramped setup here. All right, RAM is back in. Let's try booting up just the way that we were. Did I miss it? Yep, I missed it. But we're booting anyway. Okay, RAM's back in and it's booting up. I'm going to consider that successful. We'll turn it back off again. And this time I'm going to go into setup and I'm going to load all the defaults and get rid of all the stuff that I turned off and see if that's any better. Prepare to enter setup. Alright, we are in setup now, and let's go load failsafe defaults, yes. And then I want to do advanced and set it up to boot only from the USB hard disk. I think that's it. Let's save and exit. Alright, and we are booting again into Ubuntu. So let's turn that off. And let's plug the hard disk in. I'm going to plug it into port 5, see if that makes any difference. Did this thing really get tossed just because of a bad hard disk? Are hard disks that expensive that it's cheaper to get another PC? Yep, Ubuntu's booting. I didn't catch on the BIOS screen as it flipped by whether or not the hard disk was there, but we'll let it boot up and find out. The other thing that we need to do is test out the video card and see if that was it. But the video card worked, so I'm not really expecting that to be it. A bad SATA port? That's weird. Because I did change SATA ports. This is booting off of a USB stick, and the USB stick is in one of the USB 2.0 ports. I should move it over to a USB 3.0 port now that I reset all the BIOS settings. Alright, let's try Ubuntu. Alright, that has booted up. My capture card's not terribly happy, but I'm doing VGA to HDMI and then HDMI to capture. And here we are. Okay, let's get onto our Wi-Fi network so we can do some quick installs of things. That was the wrong button. A little bit of a lag here with the display capture. Alright, this machine is not happy at all. Alright, I think we're clear of that mess. Let's go and try and connect. Alright, that's happier. Let's see what we can do about making this thing visible. This machine's plenty fast. Alright, what does it say we have here? We're running Ubuntu 20.04 on a GA78LMT USB 3.6.0. And that's the motherboard, gigabyte. Kernel is 58043. It's been up for 4 minutes. We're running Bash. We've got 1920 by 1080 resolution, which is why I can't see it, because it's 1920 by 1080 captured into a 1920 by 1080 window. Graybird. What do we got? CPU, AMD FX 4300, 4 at 3.8 gigahertz. That's pretty fast. And the onboard video card in the machine is an AMD ATI Radeon 3000. And we have 8 gigs of RAM. So it's a pretty beefy machine. Let's see what we can do about the screen resolution and the hard disk. So it sees the hard disk on the desktop, but it's hard for me to see it. Hang on one second. Okay, so I reset the screen resolution and got rid of the pretty background and expanded it out so we could read it. That's a little bit better. Let's take a look at what this internal hard disk is saying. We're going to maximize this window, and then we're going to zoom in a bit. Become root, smart. Alright, so the smart tools are not installed. Let's get them installed. So first we need to do... Let's try just to install it like we're smart and know what we're doing. Nope, no package name Smart Control. Alright. G Smart Control, SmartMon Tools. I think SmartMon Tools is probably the way to go. Smart Control -A. Well, let's do LS Block first. Alright, so it's SDA. Smart Control-A/dev/SDA. Let's see what it says. No errors logged. So nothing wrong there. Temperature, vendor, SCT status supported, error logging supported, total time to complete offline data collection. Alright, so here's the information. Western Digital Blue, WDC WD10EZEX, serial number, rotation rate 7200 RPM, devices in Smart Control database for details -P, smart support is available, smart support is enabled, and overall health assessment test result passed. Okay, so maybe it was a bad SATA port on the motherboard. We'll have to switch that over and see. Alright, let's exit out of here and let's see what all is on this machine. Yeah, close the window. Not a whole heck of a lot on this machine. It's a Windows system. Let's switch the view. View as detailed list. Okay. AMD folder, which looks like drivers, documents and settings. Oh, it's a gaming machine. Pokemon Rando, Game Boy, emulator, AT saves, volts. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Alright, bunch of games on here, that's good. What's in program files? FutureMark, Microsoft Office, MS Build, Microsoft Windows Workflow. Okay. What else do we have? It's like nothing special. Windows sidebar. It's all pretty basic stuff. Riot Games, Riot Client. Bunch of games. What's in program files? x86. Call of Duty. Hearthstone. Hearthstone, yep. Hearthstone's a pretty cool game. Steam, Standing Stone Games. Yeah, so this machine led its life as a gaming machine, and then the hard disk crashed. So what I want to do is I want to switch the USB thumb drive over to the USB 3.0 port that's on here. Let's unmount this. Unmount has finished. Let's be risky. I'm going to pull the SATA connection. Let's see, it didn't say anything. The drive still appears to show. Let's go here. And dmessage doesn't seem to know that the drive is missing. And LSBK doesn't know that the drive is missing. Let's plug it back in to the SATA port and see if we can mount it again. Yeah, we can mount it again. Okay, so I think I need to reboot it in order to get it to move to a different SATA port. Let's shut it down, switch to USB 3 and see if that boots up any faster. And then change the SATA port again. Alright, and we're back to not running. Turn it off. Switch that over since we know that SATA port 5 works. I switched the USB flash drive back to the USB 2.0 port. If it boots up, we are in SATA port 5 again. And there we go, now we're booting. Okay, so it doesn't like USB 3. Turn that off. Switch that back to SATA port 4. And at some point I'll put the video card back in. Yep, and we are booting. Okay, it's booted back up again to the desktop here, and the icons look a little different. Let's mount that drive, and there the drive mounted. Not really sure why the desktop theme, the icon theme changed, but the drive is now in SATA 2 port 4 and working fine, and the USB drive is in the USB 2.0 socket working fine. So let's figure out what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to try two things. One is I'm going to try to boot without the USB drive and see if it boots into Windows. I have no reason to understand why it would do that because I didn't change anything in that regard other than restore the BIOS back to normal settings. And then I'm also going to put this video card back in the machine and see if that has anything to do with helping it move along forward one way or the other. So I'll come back on the other side of that and let you guys know what happened. Alright, we have switched over to booting off of the internal hard disk and we're booting up for the first time. Well, we're attempting to boot up for the first time. Okay, so we know the drive works, and we know the system works if you're able to boot a successful operating system on. We know that all the RAM works. So I would say that this hard disk is not properly bootable. So the next step, switch the video card in. Alright, so we have the video card put back in, and we have the USB flash drive going back in. And we're booting up. I gotta go into setup and boot off of the flash drive again. Alright, video's working fine again like I thought it would. Hard disk was properly detected. While we're in here, let's look for anything USB 3 related. No. Let's change this here while we're here. Integrated peripherals, that's all fine. USB 3 controllers enabled. Maybe it's a bad USB port. See, here's those serial ports and parallel ports that are enabled but don't exist. There are headers on the motherboard to put them, so I guess technically they do exist, but there's no external connectors to connect to them. Alright, I'm going to use one of the other ports. This thing has two USB 3 ports on the top nothing on the front, and on the back it has 2 USB 3 ports and 1, 2, 3, 4 USB 2 ports. Wrong keyboard. So let's save and exit, and it should attempt to boot off of the USB flash drive in the USB 3.0 port. We'll see how well that works. And it doesn't work. There we go, booting Linux again. Alright, let's try to install Linux on this hard disk and see what happens. Okay, so we're back. I've got the machine booted up. I've got everything plugged in. USB 3's working weird. We've got the new video card installed. This is still an FX 4300 AMD machine. Let me move myself out of the way here. And now the video card is an AMD ATI Radeon RX 460. So that little mark over the video card was fine. 460/560D, and we still have 8 gigs of memory. So this is a pretty nice little machine here. I do not know my AMD processors, and I don't know how this compares to like an Intel i5, i7, which generation, etc. But 4 cores at 3.8 gigahertz is pretty good. Alright, so I wanted to get bpytop installed because I wanted to. I wanted to see what it would look like while we were doing the software update. So let's do the install. And I'm in the way. Hold on. Move myself out of my own way. Alright, we're copying files over. I'm going to come back when this is done copying files. You guys have seen files copy before. Alright, we have finished installing the software and it is time to restart. So I need to re-enable booting off of the hard disk and remove the USB flash drive. Let's do it. It's doing something. Ooh, it's booting. So it was an operating system problem. I'm going to take this flash drive, now that the machine is booting, I'm going to put it in the top USB 3 port. And if it shows up as readable, then who knows? Oh, it's defaulting to 1920 by 1080. Alright, that worked. This is the flash drive in the USB 3 port. And this appears to be working as well. Okay. Let's do... it wants software updates. We'll do that later. Alright, I mean, there's no surprises here. It's still a gigabyte main board. 3 minutes instead of 4 minutes. And we also did some other stuff besides just boot up and play around. Let's see. 3.8 gigahertz, Radeon, 8 gigs of RAM, not using hardly any of it. Yeah, so everything's running fine. Let's do... what do we got? Dev SDA1, 511 megs, boot EFI, Dev SDB1, SDA5 is 862 gigabytes. So there's your 1 terabyte drive that's in there, and then the 2 partitions on the USB flash drive are showing up on there as well, because we did mount those. But overall, this thing's running fine now. So I guess it was just a pooched Windows 10 install. So we've got that running. We've got everything to make this a decent machine except for the side of the case. So now that we know what this thing is, you tell me in the comments down below, AMD FX 4300 at 3.8 gigahertz, how does that compare to like an Intel i7? Which generation would that be? It's a 4-core machine, it's got 8 gigs of RAM, it's got a decent GPU in it, it's got a terabyte of storage. What do we do with this thing? Give me some ideas, let's play around. Leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching the journey. I'm not even going to disassemble the thing because it's kind of working as it is, and I would have more parts in more space if I disassembled it. So Let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll see where we can go from here. Thanks for being awesome.